of things where there's like a
We're
million.
just in a dilemma of biblical proportions of trying to isolate Carol Kaye's guitar on that intro of, I believe there's 170 instruments on that one. That was Darlene Love.
There's
of
about
course.
6 or 7 guitars, and that was one of the guitar
That's
players.
one of the Spector sessions that didn't have strings or horns on it. It's just
Wow.
This is Art Fine Spoken Party coming to you from
You
Hollywood.
sounded like Bill Pittman, I'm sorry.
Hollywood adjacent,
Oh, you know Bill.
Hollywood adjacent with some mighty special people. Second time in for Carol Kaye. Welcome, Carol.
Hi.
I'm so happy to have
Hi,
you.
Art.
I've been
Nice
running this
to be
show
here.
for many
Thank you.
years, but not as many years as you've been playing bass and
Oh.
guitar.
almost.
I'll introduce the other guys, maybe. But let's talk about some of these hits that you were on. We talked about a lot of them on the last show, but I may have overlooked the sessions you played in the 60s, particularly in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. These boots are made for walking. Good Vibrations, Help Me Rhonda, the Do Run Run, Batman theme, Feeling All Right, Joe Cocker, River Deep Mountain
That was
High,
fun.
I'm a Believer, Monkeys, This Diamond Ring, Elusive Butterfly, Bob Lind, My Guy, that early? Mary Wells? I Can't Help Myself, Bernadette. Are you on Reach Out? I'll Be There.
Yeah, yes. Well, My Girl was cut back east, but my Guy was cut out here. There's a lot of that stuff that was cut out here.
Right, but you weren't on My Girl. That was a Temptations
No,
record. Okay, but
that's
My
not
Guy.
me. Yeah. But My Guy, yes.
But how about Reach Out, I'll Be There by the
Yep.
top stick? Ding, ding, ding,
Yeah,
ding,
yeah.
ding, ding.
A lot of the Four Tops and practically all of the Supremes were cut out here. As tracks.
Okay,
Tracks. We did the tracks out here.
Didn't know that. Willow, Weep for Me, Chad and Jeremy. Light My Fire? Mm-hmm.
Well, you can't hear me, but it's there. I'm there in the book for some reason, but I do remember that one, and it's there on the contract.
Playing bass or guitar?
Bass, yeah.
That was the band without a bass player, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They used basses on their sessions, but they didn't
Yeah.
have one
Well,
on their
Larry
own.
Knechtel played on some of their dates. I know that.
So did Lonnie Mack.
Yeah.
Really, I don't know about that,
He's
but I
on
only
our
did
albums,
about 2 dates for
These
them.
were the ones I just mentioned, among thousands, were ones that were with bass. Shaft, you're on the movie theme.
Shaft,
there.
right.
Guitar, as a guitarist on Bobby Sox and the Blue Jeans, the Spector record, Zip-a-Dee-Doo-Dah, Unchained Melody, You've Lost That Lovin' Feeling, The Beat Goes On, He's a Rebel. The Zappa, first 2 Zappa LPs, your mother's invention.
12-string guitar.
And almost at the same time, Johnny.
That's you on You Didn't Try to Call Me?
Oh, I see. I
Do you know
thought you were
every
being
cut?
funny with
No,
me.
Do you know every cut you played
It was
on
her
the-
and Son of Monster Magnet for Pete's
I
sake.
don't know.
No, there's no 12-string on Son of Monster Magnet.
The first 2 albums, but I don't know what tunes they were. I mean, it's probably not all the tunes,
So you're on it, along with Johnny Angel, Shelley Fabre, La Bamba, you're playing on guitar on that, with rhythm guitar on that, right?
Rhythm guitar, right.
Let's Dance, Chris Montez, Surfing USA,
fun, yeah.
Little Old Lady from Pasadena, and it just goes on. It's astonishing. Chipmunks, were you played at slow speed and sped up, or?
No. That's just the voices.
That's the
They
voices,
did the
okay.
tracks and
What
they did the
Chipmunks
voices later.
tracks were you on, and who were on those?
I don't know.
Well, let's not get too deep on those, okay?
Wait
Yeah.
a minute.
We got a lot.
I'm not sure,
Aside
but
from
I
this
did
Chris
do a lot of
Montez
that
crap,
stuff.
Oh, did I say that?
Oh,
We're friends with Chris.
He's one of my best friends.
no, music we did with Chris was fun. Well, I played guitar on his stuff at first, then later on I played Call Me, bass on Call Me, which was fun.
He sang at my wedding.
No,
Yep.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
months ago.
beautiful.
He was actually the
You
guy who
just
bought the
got married.
Epiphone.
Darn, I can't flirt with you then.
No, he was the one that bought my Epiphone.
No kidding.
Or actually, his brother did.
He brought
We
you.
know you can't flirt with a married musician.
Yeah, I know.
And married musicians never
That's
flirt.
a no-no. That's like,
It never happens. I might briefly say, in case you didn't see the first show, that Carol's been a session player here for more than 40 years, and grew up in Long Beach, poor and impoverished, and what else? Dirt poor and
Yeah, stuttering. I couldn't do a thing right.
And doubling on steel guitar.
And I did want to get into that from the past show, that your first instrument was a steel guitar, which is just so wacky, it seems to me. It doesn't seem like there was any need for that at that time, though it's a wonderful sound. There wasn't any
Well,
immense
I'm surprised that there were door-to-door steel guitar salesmen. I've heard of accordion
For
salesmen.
$10,
doing that, but
$10 with lessons.
was Hawaiian music sort of in vogue then at the time? or-
No, well, Aloha
Late
Oi,
40s?
I could play that and a few
And
other
that was a hit.
things,
Hawaiian War Chant was a hit.
No,
When?
but-
Late
I
40s?
wasn't that good.
Through the 40s. You
49.
saw those tunes.
49.
No, but I mean, you think of all of these little kids across Southern California learning to play steel guitar. I mean, why?
It is strange, unless country was
Alvino Ray.
country featuring it prominently then?
No, but the 30s, I mean, they had like some pretty well-known Hawaiian things
I know
out,
that.
you know,
Yeah.
in the 30s. So I think it was kind of a carryover in the 40s from that, you know. It's good
Incredible.
music.
So you
I actually have a record of Manny Klein and his Rockahulans backing
Manny Klein.
Freddie Morgan.
Manny Klein backing Freddie Mercury.
But anyway,
So,
that's how I got started.
okay, you got into the session world by playing on Sam Cooke's session for Specialty Records in '57, and that was when you were a guitarist only. And then we went through the last show that in '63 or '4 you picked up the bass because they needed one, and you became a bassist primarily for many years after that.
That's what happened. It was,
now, what
it
about
was
this?
not
What about
planned.
this gal thing? How did you all of a sudden appear in this room full of guys? In other words, obviously you're talented and qualified to do what you're doing.
Well, you know something, I think it was lucky that I was a guitar player, but there were a lot of women that were playing with the men back then. They were playing jazz. You don't hear about them now, you know, but they were back there. I mean, it was no big deal being a woman, although you did feel a little bit of put down once in a while. But as a rule, I mean, I went out to play with a lot of the black bands down there in the black nightclubs, and they had some swanky nightclubs.
All your life?
No, 56, 57. I had gotten my divorce about the end of 56, and so I could go out and start playing. My husband back then was Al Kaye, and he was a darn good bass player. We were on the road with a big band together, and we played some gigs out here. Then I had a second child. And then I decided that I didn't want to be married to him anymore. You know, he's older than me, and I was playing bop by that time, and he was like, "Oh, when the saints go marching in," you know, that kind of bass player, and I was playing, you know, that kind of stuff. So it didn't match, you know, and so I left him, and I had my 2 kids and my mom, and I got a day job, and then I did the bebop at night, you know, and it was fun. And if I couldn't figure out what to play, then I just kind of like laid out, and then I went home and practiced, you know. And nobody teaches you how to play this stuff. I mean, you have to pick it up by ear, you know. I think I asked about one question back then, you know, because you learn it by ear,
Yeah, the
and
answer
then they
was
gotta
always,
have you.
You'll
know.
hear it. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, yeah, mutes.
I'm interested in the geography of this. You were going in the early '50s downtown LA to see people like Duke Ellington. When you were playing with the black bands, were you coming up to Hollywood? Was South Central still, or what was it?
Well, what had happened was that we lived in Phoenix there for a while, you know, and then came back to LA, and then we're on the road for about a year and a half, and then we came back to South Bay around Torrance and around and down there, and then we were playing a lot of gigs together down there. And as soon as I got my divorce, then I went up to the black clubs, you know, and I would sit in, or the clubs around Hollywood there, you know, whether it's white and black, because
and they were welcome. I mean, they had sessions that you just
there
walked
was a
in
good
and they were
mixture.
happy to see you.
Well, you had to have somebody say that you were good. You know, like Red Mitchell was a dear friend of mine too at that time, and Red and I had worked some gigs together, and he got me to sit in. He had got me to sit in, I mean, with Hampton Hawes there, and I started playing guitar, and the whole place was packed. Ooh, wow, she could play. In fact, Hampton didn't say a thing at all, but I missed a couple chord changes at first with him, and then the second go around, then I got it, and he just kind of looked up and little smile, you know. So,
Wow.
so it thrilled me. So I got off the stand, and he got off and told his friend, "The bitch can play," you know. And I went, "Yo, thank you," you know. So it was all right, you know. So, I mean, so word got around about me, and then they had they started hiring me with good groups. But Red helped, and a lot of other guys did help too, you know, because they knew that I could play. But the wildest thing was that back in those days, I mean, guitar wasn't used in the bop groups very much, because you have to go with your comping, boo, you know, like a horn section. You don't go chunk, 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 you know, like you do in a big band. So you have to know how to do that, and you have to know how to solo. And I'm not talking about those funny little things that you play. I'm talking about like a sax player. I mean, you're playing like a sax player, you know, similar to what Joe Pass and Howard Roberts did. You
And
know,
the other thing is
George.
you have to know how to do 3
Wes
sets of
Montgomery.
this a night without ticking off the piano player because you're stomping all over him.
Right. You have to be sensitive to the way that the piano is playing so that you accompany him too when he's comping. You have to really have it together, and that takes ears.
I found laying out was the easiest way to keep those guys happy.
Well, a lot of the times when it's very fast or it's with a piano player that wants to command the whole thing, then you go boo boo ba, boo boo ba. You know, you just do a bongo thing or something.
Not me, I just go test at 32.
Not me, man. I got to jump in and play.
I'm not taking no chances with those people. They're their own tribe.
So you did a session with Sam Cooke. Also, I noticed you mentioned It's a Wonderful World with Sam Cooke, which is the song you have listed, which is a later one. What that immediately you were under the aegis of Bumps Blackwell, his producer, and then that naturally leaked out into the rest of the session world?
Yes, I mean, they started calling me, and H.B. Barnum hired me there for a while, and it was fun to work with him, and I did some live gigs with him, too. I mean, all styles, whether it was jazz or the do-do-do-do.
H.B. was the band leader, but he was backing up other people, or he was doing H.B. Barnum gigs?
He was doing his own gigs. He was doing his own gigs, and then he was writing some charts like for the demo dates, and then he'd do the record dates, and he hired me to play guitar on quite a few of those soul type of dates, and it was a lot of fun.
Well, actually, did he do I Got You, Babe? Was he the producer on that?
No, it was Harold Batiste.
No,
Harold Batiste, okay, I'm thinking wrong.
I think he did Love's a Hurtin' Ding, though.
Could be. Well,
Harold Batiste is responsible for the arrangements, I mean, with Sonny and Cher. But some of those lines, you had to make up the lines, though, too, you know, because it'd be like when we first heard la-di-da-di-ding, da-da-da-da-da-da, it was boom, 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 boom. Now that was our gig to come up with all kinds of hook lines, and I'm sitting there saying one chord tune, and they're going la-di-da-di-da, and so never will make it. So I'm trying to figure out some kind of line. And I'm playing guitar, and about the third line I came up with was boom, 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 and Sonny said, Bob West, you play that. You hear me play along with it.
Well, you were playing guitar on the session. Bob West was a bass player.
Right. But Sonny hired me. I mean, like on electric 12-string, where it be dee-dee-doo-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee. You know, he hired me doing a lot of lines and stuff that I'd make up. So that's what I was trying to do, because you knew that you had to make up lines to make the record happen, see, to make the tunes pop. And so that woke me up. And I'm not saying, oh, good. I mean, good for me that I could make up a line, but that bass line made that record happen. I thought, yes, it's in the bass, because by that time I was playing bass, and I saw more and more how important the bass role is for the record. So
it made that record.
It made that record.
Goes on so much that you can't imagine, or I can't imagine, that it was written written without that. Yeah.
Boom, boom. Yeah.
I think the song was built around the bass line rather than the
Yeah,
other way.
funny, 'cause
it
too,
was accidental.
When you look at that period,
He was good to work for, though.
there was so much going on, you know, between you, Paul McCartney, James Jamerson, Duck Dunn. The role of the bass was changing. You know.
Well, there's a lot of bass players out here too that they don't know about. Ray Pullman was the very first bass player. He was doing a lot of simple bass. I mean, that's Ray that's playing on most of the Phil Spector hits. You know, he played on You've Lost That Love and Feeling. Excellent bass player. And he kind of set the tone. He played a lot with his thumb, but he played a little bit with the pick too, see.
Well, he started out as a guitar player.
Yes, that's right. Renee Hall, who's playing bass on my guitar album, it was also a fine bass player. He could sit down and play bass too. They had a guy by the name of Arthur Wright. Hal Blaine used to say arthritis or something. Anyway, it'd be funny stuff. Anyway, but Arthur played on a lot of that Motown stuff too, and I was playing guitar, and it'd be Arthur on the bass, and then they switch us around because he was a darn good player on guitar, and he arranged and everything. And they had Lyle Ritz, that played the electric bass on A Taste of Honey with Herb Alpert. There were a lot of these bass players that were playing there. But I came along at a time when they weren't playing a lot with the pick, and I could do that double time thing, like doom doom dee
Were all of
dee,
these
that
guys
kind of stuff.
formerly guitar players?
A lot of them were, but
Does that sort of
but
explain?
Lyle Ritz was a very fine jazz string bass player too.
Bergerhofer
and,
was-
and ukulele.
yeah.
Oh yeah, yes, and Berghofer
bass
too.
player.
Chuck Berghofer
But,
was a very fine
yeah,
bass
Ray
player.
Pullman had been out with. I mean, I think he really got to L.A. Into Central, whatever, because he came out of the Billy May band, which was like of the early '50s before Billy May started getting all the work, and that was like really a good kind of incubator.
He was a good player, and he could sing well, and he could write well, and everything. He was a good cat.
Let's talk about Carol. Okay, there's a bass performance tape that you've prepared, and the first cut on that, we're going to hear. Carol Kaye has a lot of information on a website, and the website we don't name because we're on public access. So you can go there and look.
Carolk.
No,
Just be imaginative.
we're not giving you any clue on how to find it. Good luck. But
Anyway.
anyways.
And where to find Carol Kaye?
Yeah. It's already under.
website?
Todd, shut up. It's already under her name 100 times on the show. We have
Thanks,
a
yo.
bass performance tape that you have. Let's take a listen to the first cut on that, which is the bass performance tape.
Right, right.
You're familiar with it. I don't know if you want to set it up or we'll just play it a little bit.
It's a tune that I wrote in about 2 minutes one time, about 1977, and then I had a small group up in the Santa Cruz area there and this is cut live, and the name of the tune is "Driving Me Crazy in L.A."
Let's take a listen to that off of Carol Kaye's bass performance tape if it's ready, and I'll keep talking. If it's not, it'll be coming up real soon. And
So anyway, it was fun to have a group like that. It was it was me and a bunch of young guys playing the fusion type of
just pop it in
jazz,
anytime you want. Interrupt us and play it. Are
it
you
was fun.
playing much now?
Not live, but I'm doing the occasional record date. But I did do some live jazz about a couple of years ago, and it was fun for a while. I mean, both on guitar and bass, But things have changed in jazz. Now, in the 70s, I played jazz with Hampton Hawes on the road there, and we cut an album together, called Northern Windows, which is on Fantasy. And it was fun to play with Hampton because he played that soul type of jazz and the straight ahead. It was a New York record, right. But
Okay,
we
we're
did
talking
do some
about It's
stuff
My
out
Party
here.
right
no,
now,
I
which she
didn't
is
do
not.
that. I'm not on
Talking
that.
about the song she's
It's come to where we're trying to come up with records
But
she didn't
wasn't
play
on,
on.
right. It's Carol Kaye on bass, on a
Precious few.
bass demonstration tape. What else, guys? Just jump in if you want. So the TV and movie things, there's countless, are listed on. Sorry, wrong page. But
Well, the TV things were a lot of fun.
Mission Impossible,
Mission
Ironside,
Impo- yeah.
Hawaii Five-0, The Cosby Show,
Just
Streets
out
of
of curiosity, besides Lalo, who were some of the other leaders you worked for on Mission Impossible, or did you just do Lalo's days?
No, I did about 2 of Lalo's dates, and they reused that music. They would resplice it, and they reused it and reused it. And I think I got paid about $75. That's Earl on drums on that too. $75. Now, I finally got a reuse. I think it was $50 about 5 years ago on that. But hey, the union is great because you do get pensions. You get a certain amount of reuse when they reuse the things in movies. And the movies that I played on were a lot of fun. Thomas Crown Affair and all the Quincy Jones things and were a lot of fun. Heat of the Night and all that.
Airport, Sweet Charity, Valley of the Dolls, Cactus Flower, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, Plaza Suite, Sugarland Express. My goodness gracious.
On Heat of the Night, several of the cuts on that were, all I can figure is that they were Glenn Campbell trying to sound like Roger Miller records.
I don't think
Was that
that
you?
Glenn was on that. I mean, I played the Dano bass guitar on some of that, and then bass on some of it. But it was a big band, and it was cut out at Goldwyn there, you know. And they had Q had several of the real hot jazz guys, you know, like Roland Kirk was on that day.
Yeah.
Was on that, and God, it was fun. You
And
know,
whoever
because
was sitting
they
next
could really play.
to Roland
I forget
had a-
who played guitars though.
Whoever was sitting next to Rahsaan Roland Kirk had written in his music, "Tug Rahsaan's jacket," because he was blind.
Oh, that's right.
And
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who'd you work for on Streets of San Francisco?
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to look in my log. I have that in the log. We did a ton of those kind of dates. Let's see, out there at Universal, you know.
Yeah.
It was good music. And I can remember Kirk Douglas, the son, being in the film, because they show the film when you're cutting the music, you know. There's a lot of chase scenes I did and stuff like that. I thought, oh, isn't he cute? I just love him, you know, because I loved his dad, you know, too, Kirk Douglas. You know, I'm being a movie fan here, you know. But anyway.
You coming up with anything? Because I'm going to play some bass lines off of her bass lines tape.
Play some bass line.
Which is,
I had a question and I forgot it.
We'll zip into that and zip out of it. Just another tape that you've prepared of your expertise. Stuff we don't hear normally as opposed to every other record on the radio.
Kind of thing.
A little plainer than the other things you played on. But it's,
Well, the chart on that one that you just heard, I mean, that's Hickey Burr, and it was a full band there. And Quincy had the charts, and he put down a chart there as X amount of chords for a certain amount of bars, and the bars were all blank. I said, well, Quincy, what do you want me to play? He says, well, just play what you feel. I said, well, okay, this is good. This is fun.
Hickey
And it
Burr was
worked
a theme
out.
from the Bill Cosby TV show.
Hickey Burr is the theme from the very first Bill Cosby show. It's about 69 or 70 that we cut that. And then we went back and we did the record date too, and Bill's playing tambourine on that. He's going, Hickey Burr, you know, it was fun, you know, it was great. And that's Joe Sample on piano, and it was Tom Scott on sax. And it was Paul Humphrey on drums on that. And talk about Paul Humphrey, when we did the Feeling All Right with Joe Cocker, that was just a instant jam. I mean, that's Artie Butler on piano, and it's Paul Humphrey on drums, and I was playing bass, and then it was Law Deer on congas, very, very fine conga man. And David Cohen, was playing guitar, but you don't hear hardly any. Now, I never heard the tune "Feeling All Right" before, you know.
Really?
But I've heard
Never
it
heard
since.
Steve
I
Wonder.
never heard of it, and we got into a Puerto Rican kind of Latin jam together, and it was fun. But on the real take, by the way, something happened to it. The real take, the take that you hear, which was the one that you hear. I mean. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Was a #1 record twice, you know, because it was brought out, and then Herb Alpert bought the master, and he brought it out in the early '70s, and it was #1 again. But that was the second take. For some reason, I mean, we didn't get the first take of it, which was even better than that one.
cool.
But it was a jam.
What was the supreme song you were expressing extreme admiration for the bass line
You
on?
Can't Hurry Love.
Can't Hurry Love. How does that start?
That's a samba. Brazil. See? Samba. Samba.
There's a lot.
days.
One time I was talking to Randy Newman, and we were going over
Oh,
the top
yeah.
records
I've
of the
worked
day,
with him.
and I said, "Well, what do you think about Spinning Wheel? You know, Blood, Sweat, and Tears."
Yeah.
He says, "Oh yeah," he says, "Lulu's back in town."
Oh.
He says, "I did the same thing with Bet No One Ever Heard So Bad," and I was thinking back, yeah, it is the same song, just attack differently.
Well, you know, a lot of the bop tunes too. I mean, they took tunes like "Whispering While Nobody
Driven
Knew
High.
It," "Ba-ba," "ba-da,"
Everybody,
Wait a second.
you ever heard the Patti Page record of that? It's
And you're
very hip.
pretty hot. Pretty
Groovin' High?
hot. She's great.
Whispering.
And,
Whispering,
you're on Mel Torme's "Coming Home Baby," which he refers to as his rock and roll record in his bio. I don't know what it is, but it's a very good
You know
record.
something, but it's a good record.
It's a great record.
You know, and we
unbelievable.
had fun cutting for him too. And
He was slightly bitter
when we
guy.
did the games people play, the drummer was a little bit tired.
Games
you
People
know,
Play by-
and then
by
Sweets
Mel-
Edison got me into trouble. He says, "Do something, Carol," because we were going da dee da 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 boom, do 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 do. Do, do, do. We were getting down there, so I went do dum dum ding do 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 ba ba do 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 do. He goes la di da da do 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 do. You know, I'm doing all the paradiddles and everything, and we do this take. I said, okay, I think we got it now because you know it was lively, and they said, oh yeah, that's it. We're through. I said, no, let us do a real take.
Let me tune this time.
It's wall-to-wall bass. You know, it's wall-to-wall bass. You don't want a bass
We're
solo
talking
in
about
that.
Games People Play
But
by
that's-
Mel Torme or by Joe South.
No, by Mel Torme.
It's the same
And that's
story
what
with
he
Burning
wanted.
Love.
Yeah, it's just.
We don't have time. It's time to go.
And you know what? That was his hottest selling record of all
Yeah,
time.
sure.
He made more money.
We're talking
off
about
of
Coming Home Baby now.
that. No. Games people play.
Hottest selling record?
Yeah.
By Mel Torme.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, by
Great.
Mel Torme.
We got-
Was his hottest selling record.
Okay.
He's a beautiful guy.
We're mighty happy to have had Carol Kaye on the show. I've been waiting years to do this, and I'm very thrilled about it. Bass player, guitar player, musician extraordinaire, played on half the records you hear on the record. What Paul Revere's did I miss over here?
Indian Reservation.
Indian Reservation.
Oh yeah, that was dun dun dun.
So
dun,
here's a
dun.
cut off of
You're forgiven.
here's a cut off of the Carol Kaye Ray
Very
Ray
authentic.
Peasy.
Peasy
Yeah.
and Mitch Holder record called Thumbs Up that recorded, and it's something you guys put out just recently. Available wherever such things are available. So Carol Kaye, you're floating out there on the internet somewhere, I know, and we could lasso you if we really need to. So
Right.
take a listen, Carol Kaye.
Don't be afraid.
Let's do another. This is only 2 half hours we've done. We'll come back and do another 2 half hours sometime.
Thanks.
Thank you
all right.
thank you for coming out in the
Nice
rain.
guy.
And we had a wonderful time.